If you're using Dynamics 365 Sales as your CRM system, chances are there are some things out of the box that aren't exactly how you want them to be. Perhaps you want to remove some of the stuff from the screen that you just don't use, add some new fields to capture your own data points, or even additional tables to track what it is that you do specific to your business and your business processes. All of that can be done with configuration. Welcome to this tutorial where I'm going to take you through how to do all of those things so that you can start to make Dynamics 365 Sales your own for your own business. We're working here with the fictional company Contoso Coffee. Everything on the screen here is out of the box demo data, and what we're going to do is change some things around. Here's what we're going to cover in this tutorial, so you can skip ahead to the right chapter if you don't want to watch it all. First up, we're going to get rid of some of the things on the screen. So for instance, I don't need ticker symbol and I don't need the number of employees on here. Then what I want to do is bring some other things in. So I want to know what type of account this is. I have my own classification for what I want to do here, as well as bringing in some other custom pieces of information that are specific to my business around accounts. After that, we're going to have a look at how you can change this business process flow here, which is a guided series of steps and stages that take your business from lead to opportunity. Our business in coffee here doesn't follow this process as it comes out of the box, so we're going to change that up a bit. And finally, we want to be able to have a look at warranties that we provide on the coffee machines. For each of the accounts that's purchased a coffee machine, we want to be able to see a list of the warranties with an expiry date so that we've got visibility of what's going on there. Let's get into it. To configure Dynamics 365, we're going to go into another window here and we type in this address, make.powerapps.com. Now this isn't a Power App, I hear you say. Aha, but it is. This is a special type of Power App which is called a model-driven Power App. And the configuration that goes on underneath here, underneath Dynamics 365 Sales, is the same thing under the hood that we use to make our own database applications. So the skills you're learning here work for Dynamics 365 Sales, also Dynamics 365 Customer Service and Field Service, or if you wanted to build something completely different from scratch, it's all the same stuff. So once we're in this screen, you need to make sure that you are in the environment here that you want to be working in, which should be your main sales environment. And the first thing we need to do is to create a solution, which is essentially a bucket, if you like, where all of the pieces that you're going to build and all of the things you're going to change will be put in there. And it's important to do that so that you've got visibility of what you've done, but also so that you can move those things through different environments. Now, I'm working here in just a single environment for demo purposes, but in a real scenario with your real sales environment, chances are you would have at least a development environment where you would make these changes, you package them up in the solution, and then push them through to your production system, ideally also through a user acceptance testing environment along the way as well. But that's a whole other video. So for now, what we're going to do is start off by navigating here into this solutions area. We create a new solution. I'm just going to call this one sales configurations, but if you've got something else going on that it's about, you would give it a sensible name, and you can have multiple solutions as you develop your system over time. You select a publisher here, so you would create a new publisher. This is like sort of putting your signature on it. I'm just going to give this one my name, and then you can put a prefix in front of it. And what this means is that everything that you create in here, you'll see it starts to put that ahead of the objects that we're creating. It's just kind of putting your signature on it. So if you've got multiple people making things or different developers or companies helping you with this over time, you'll be able to track who did what. So I've got my solution, that's my bucket. I've created my new publisher and I'm going to select that from there. And we're starting with version 1.0.0.0. You can actually have versions of these things as well. So what we have on the screen here is our empty solutions container. And we're going to bring things in as well as creating new things in here. So the first thing we're going to do is work with the accounts. So if I click through here back to A Datum Corporation and have a look around, you'll remember I said I wanted to remove number of employees. I want to get rid of ticker symbol, perhaps also on the details thing here, we just don't use this shipping. We're not shipping anything out, so we might want to get rid of that. So if I go across here, the first thing I want to do is to add that existing table in here. So we're going to come in and say add existing table, because accounts is an existing table in the CRM, and you will see, because you've got Dynamics 365 Sales or perhaps some other applications deployed here, there's a lot going on here. This is every table that's deployed into that environment. So what we're going to do here, account is easy to find. If it's another table, you can search for it at the top there. So I'm going to select the account table, Click Next. From here, we can select the different pieces of that table that we want to bring on, or the objects that are coming in. So if I go into select objects here, you'll see there's a lot going on. I've got all of the different columns that are in there. I've got different relationships, views and forms and so on. This, when I look at the screen, this is called a form. If I go back to my main menu here, this is called a view. So you can bring those pieces in and edit them. In a real world scenario, you would more likely actually create whole new ones rather than editing the out of the box ones. I'm just going to keep it fairly simple here and make some small changes to the out of the box ones to show you bringing that into the solution. So first of all, what I'm going to do is go in and find the form that I want, and I actually want the main form here that's called account. I'm going to add that one in. And I also want to select another object here, which is the views. And I'm actually going to use the active accounts view, which is the one that lists all of the accounts in the system, and add that in. Once I'm done, we select all of those things. And now we've got in my solution, no longer blank, I've got one table, and I can open that up. It's the account table, and there are all of those pieces in there. But at the moment we don't have any columns, but we've got the form and the view that we brought in there. So take a moment to get used to that navigation around the solution components. And as we work through this tutorial, you'll see all those pieces coming through in there. So let's go into account here and have a look at this form on the screen. So hopefully you'll see straight away that what I've got on the screen here is the backside. So hopefully you'll see on the screen here that this is the back configuration end of what's going on the front here. So we've got account information, name, phone number, website, account form, name, phone number, fax, website. There we go. Now, I don't know about you, but fax is something that I never need anymore. So what we can do here is just remove some things from the form as a starting point. So I'm going to click on that fax up here and delete, and that's gone. I also said that I don't want ticker symbol, so we're going to click on that and click delete. We had a number of employees up here, which let's say we don't need that for our business purposes. I'm going to come in here and in the header, choose that, delete that as well. And I also wanted to remove some things from that details tab. So that's sort of clicking across into this next section here. I said I didn't want any of that shipping information, so I can go across into the details tab there. Let's zoom this down a little bit so that we can get it more on the screen. And I'm going to shipping, and this one I'm actually not just deleting an individual field, I'm actually deleting that whole section on the form. So we've got different things in here. This is a tab, and I could, if I had selected that, see how the purple line is around the whole thing? If I delete that, will delete that whole tab. What I was doing before was clicking on an individual column or field and deleting that. This time I want to click on a section in there and delete that. Now you also have the option, if you don't want to be deleting things, to just hide them. If it's something that you're not sure that you want to come back to, you can do that as well. All right, all good. Now the next thing we want to do here is to add some other things onto the form, and you'll see we've got a range of different options down the side here, but what I'm going to do for now is just to save this, and then we'll go and have an explore of what's in the out of the box table. Now you can save and publish as you go along, and that will push those things straight through, or you can click here just to save only. For now, because I'm still making changes, it's a little bit quicker to save only than save and publish, so we're going to do that. The other option here, save a copy, is if you didn't want to be messing with the out of the box form, it's like doing a save as and creating another form. As I said, I'm taking a slight shortcut here. I would normally do that in a real world scenario. So there we go, that's saved. The difference between save and publish, save is saving all of those changes into the solution, but publish is the thing that pushes them live. So I've saved my work there, but if I go back to the app at this point, it's not affected. So generally you want to keep all those things together until you're ready to publish. So let's click back here to return to our solution, and I'm actually going to go back into the main tables here just to show you around. As we start to add new pieces into our application here, one of the most important things to understand first is what comes out of the box, because the Dynamics 365 sales application has a lot going on already, and it's very important to be familiar with what's already there so that you don't just go creating additional things that are already there. You can configure and use the pieces that are out of the box, rename them, move them around. The account table itself has like hundreds of different columns there, not just what's on the screen. So let's go exploring. If I go back into tables here And as a starting point, this is just recommended tables. Have a look at all here and you'll see that we've got all of the tables, which is what we were seeing before in the Solution Explorer. So it's worth understanding what's in there. Let's dive in here to the account table. And if I have a look at columns, which are the data fields that are in there, we can click through and you'll see far more than what's on that form out of the box. So the form here is what's showing up out of the box. If we come along here, we've got all of these things about phone and parent account and number of employees and some details and things in here. But let's say I wanted to classify this account with a certain account type or business type. If I scroll down, you'll see firstly there's lots of address fields. So we've got 1, 2, 3 address fields in there, a whole lot of other sort of things in here. But look at this, business type and category. So these are things that we can use. If I have a look at business type here, this is a choice that we can use. It's just got default value 1, so that's available for you to start putting those things in there. We've also got a category column here, which is doing a similar thing. So this is giving you a preferred customer or standard. So we might want to do that as well. It's important though, don't make the changes where I am now. I'm just being a tourist and showing you around, exploring what's out of the box, but don't make the changes straight in here. You really want to go back into your solution, make sure that you're bringing all your changes and packaging them up in there. So we'll go back into our sales configuration and into the account. And what I'm going to do, I quite like both that business type and category columns in there. So I'm going to this time add those columns into my solution. So we've already got the table in there, which we brought in at the start. So what I'm going to do here is add those existing columns into my solution. We go into add existing and you'll see here's the list of columns. Now you can search for them, but it's a bit tedious because if I search for business type and click it, I click there and I click add and I have to do it twice. So you can search for them there, or we could just scroll down because I know they were quite close together here and select them both, business type, category, and add both of those into my solution. So they came with some standard options that I want to do something else with. Navigate back here to columns. There we go, business type and category are now in there. Category, I think I was happy with as it is. The idea of having a preferred customer and standard, that's great, let's just go with that. But business type, I want to do something else here. So you'll see that we've got default value and that's not much good to me. Let's say I'm working Contoso Coffee. We are supplying our coffee beans and machines to lots of different places. So we might have different types of accounts that we deal with. So let's say we've got a cafe. Now you'll see as I click that one up, see what's going on here with the value. This is the front end value, and this is the value that's the schema name. It's like a technical value underneath. This comes into play if you are going to do some automation later. What you don't want is to end up with a value that's 1 and this is the normal kind of thing that's going to be in the rest of your solution. We don't need to get into that too much now, but I don't like the inconsistency of that. I'm actually just going to get rid of that and just work from there so that we end up with 3 things that are in sequential number order. That's going to make it a whole lot easier later. So we've got a cafe. Let's say we also deal with restaurants, and I maybe have some wholesalers in there as well. So you can put in whatever that needs to be for your particular business, and then you can choose if you want a default choice or not. In this case, it doesn't make sense to have a default choice, so we'll just select that. So far we've brought a couple of existing columns into the solution, and we've actually changed one of them. If you wanted to change the name of these, you could do that as well. If I go into here and say edit, you can actually just change the display name. So all of those things that are out of the box are yours to configure as you wish. Let's say I want to add something else in here that's specific to our business that I'm not going to find in that list, which is the purchasing cycle or something like that. I can come in here and add a column. Let's call this one purchase cycle. And then I can choose my data type, and you've got a range of different things here. So single line of text, you could just write in something. You can add numbers in here, dates. We'll come back to look up in a moment when we create relationships, currency. So lots of different data types in there. I've got a whole video exploring that in more detail. But for now, what we're going to do is say that this is a choice, and it's choice or yes, no. So we're going to make it a choice, and we can actually have something that is synchronized to be able to use in other data tables across the system, or something that just belongs to this table. So I'm just going to create this as a local choice for this table. So let's say I'm going to add something here where they purchase weekly, monthly, or quarterly. and save that. So you can go ahead and configure all sorts of other things in there, dates, text fields, whatever it is you need. And once you've got all of those pieces, then you want to bring them onto the forms where you're working. So let's go back here into my account, select that form that we were working with before, go back into my account form, and I want to bring those new pieces and put them, drag and drop onto the screen where I want them to be. Here's our account form again. Let's say I want to bring the categorization and the business type onto the form now. I'm going to come in here, grab this business type and drag that perhaps underneath there. I want to bring the classification in. I'm going to put that one up in the header, so I can drag and drop that up into the header there. You can scroll across just to see where that went. So let's say I don't like the order of that, I can move that across there as well. And then my purchase time frame, I want to bring in here too. Now you can add other sections on the form if you wanted to. There's different component menu up here to add columns and sections and things, so you've got a fair bit of flexibility with the layout. But let's say I want to find my purchase cycle, and let's just bring that in there. All right, some nice simple changes there, enough to give you an idea to get started, and let's go ahead and save that. So now I've made my account form, I've added some extra columns on there. I also want to see those things in the view. So when I come back into my list of accounts here, and I want to have a look at the list of active accounts, these are the columns that are here out of the box. We've got main phone, address, primary contact. I also want to bring, say, the purchasing cycle and that business type in here to make it a little bit easier. So let's come back to my account table again, click a level back up in the breadcrumb hierarchy there to get back to the account. And this time I'm coming in to have a look at my views. There's my active accounts view, which I brought into my solution right back at the start. And I'm going to add my business type into the list there. No data in there at the moment, you'll notice. This is giving you a preview, but I've just added that and haven't used it for anything yet. And let's say I want to bring that category in there as well. If I just click on it rather than dragging it to the spot, it's going to put it on the right-hand end, which that seems fine. Now, let's save this one, and then I just click back to navigate back to my solution. So the next thing I want to do is to change my business process flow here to something that's more for my business. So let's say when I work with a cafe, in addition to this qualify, develop, propose, close stage, I also offer them a free trial of a machine for a certain amount of time, and I want to put a trial stage in here. Now, anything you want to add in here, you can go in and add and remove bits, but any data points or columns you want to add in here, you have to have created before you go into editing the business process flow. So I'm going to do something quite simple here, which is just to add a stage called trial, and I'm going to put a trial start date and a trial end date in that stage. So what I need to do first is to create those particular items, and that's not sitting on the account table. This is actually now part of the opportunity table. So back in my solution here, I'm going to go back a level in the breadcrumb trail up to those tables, and I need to add another thing in here, which is the existing table for opportunity. Select that and click next. And I'm actually going to not bring any of the forms or anything in there. I'm just going to add the table in there and add some columns to that table. So we're going to come in here, click here for a new column. This one is going to be called trial start, and this will be a date and time and format date only. We'll save that. And then the next thing I'm going to do is add another column, new column again, and this one will be a trial end, which is also a date. All right, I've added those columns to the opportunity. The next thing I need to do is work with the business process flow. So we're going to come back here and navigate through to cloud flows. And what I want to do here is bring that existing lead to opportunity process in here. Now you could create a whole new one if you want something completely different, but let me show you how we can work with the out of the box one here. So we'll find this one under add existing. We're not adding an existing table this time. We're adding an automation, and it's actually a process. That's what that business process flow is across the top there. So we click on process and it will give us the list of the existing ones, and this one is called the lead to opportunity sales process, and we're going to add this one in. Now again, typically I would often create a new one, sort of save as and create a new one. You can edit the out of the box one if you like, but often it's a good idea to sort of create your own new one with its own name. That has appeared in the menu under there called Processes. So there it is there, and I can click on that and that will bring up the screen to edit it. So here are all the pieces in here. I've got my develop, propose, close stages. I could come in here and perhaps, remove some of these things. So perhaps I don't need customer need as part of that process. So you can come in and just delete that. So you can change anything that's in here. But what I wanted to do is to add a new stage in here between develop and propose for that trial. So let's grab this, pop it in the middle there. There's my new stage. We will give that a name, trial, and click apply. And now I need to bring in those columns that I just added for my trial start date. So that will be a data step. I can come in here, scroll down and find the ones I just created. So there it is there, trial start. That'll also give it a name, click apply. And then we want to add another data step underneath that. Again, come in here, find trial end and click apply. Now, if you're interested in more things about business process flows, I've got other videos on that you can check out in how to create all of those from scratch, but that's what we can do here once we're done with that. Because this is an existing business process flow, we click update so that it takes those changes. That will also do a validation step, and this business process flow will be ready to go with its changed options. Validation successful. I can close down that tab and click done there. And so the last thing we're going to do is create a whole new table. Dynamics 365 Sales is fully extensible to add whatever else you need to manage your business. So for Contoso Coffee here, let's say that they have a warranty on their products and they want to keep track of those warranties for each of those account customers. So to do that, we're going to navigate across here into the solutions, into the table area, and create a new table. All we need to do here is give it a name. So we're going to call this one warranty. You'll see that it gives it the plural name of warranties, and click save. And there's our new table. Now I want to have a look at what this has done, because you saw all I did there was go click new table, add a name. But if we go in here into the schema and have a look at the columns, look at all this. Didn't create all that, and that is not video editing magic. What happens here as you're building out your table is that all of those pieces that you need for the scaffolding around things like when it was created, who it was created by, modified, all of the security pieces around who owns it and so on, that's just done for you when you create the new table. So there's a lot of work just already sorted. And so now all I need to do is create the other things that I need in here. So I want a warranty with a start date, an end date. I want to link it back to which account the warranty goes to, and also to which particular product it's related to. Now, in your real world scenario, you might have multiple tables managing those kinds of things, but let me take you through the process of creating this nice simple table so that you get the sense of how it works. So from here, I'm going to add new columns. And the first thing I'm going to do is add a warranty start date. This is very similar to what we did before. We go in here, we say we want a date and time, and it's a date only, and save that. I'm going to do something a little bit different for the end date here. So we create another new column for the end date, but instead of just creating a date, this time what I'm going to do is choose this formula column. This little icon here is PowerFX. This is a formula language that is used to build Canvas apps in Power Apps. It's used in other parts of the platform, and it's very similar to Excel. Like Excel, there's a little bit of just learning what the formulas are, but what I want to do here is a date formula that's going to add things to another date in there. Now I happen to know this one is called date add, but as you start to type something to do with date, it gives you a little bit of a clue about what's coming up. So I want the date add formula, and like Excel, if I open my bracket, it's going to give me a little bit of help here. So which date am I adding to? I'm adding to the start date. So if I start typing start date, there we go, start date. Put my comma in to prompt me for the next thing, the number of units. So let's say I've got a 3-year warranty on everything. Now, obviously you can make this formula conditional and more complicated, but let's go with everything has a 3-year warranty. And again, I'll give it a comma, and it's going to say what time type are you using, and it's years. And now I'm done. Close my bracket, and I have a valid formula, no errors there. So we add 3 years to the start date, and that's done. And the format here, again, just date only. We don't need a time on that, and save. So now I've got my new table for warranty. I've got my start date, my calculated end date. The next thing I want to do is create a relationship between this table and the account. This is actually a many to one relationship coming from this direction. You can have many warranties for one account. I find it easier though just to create what's called a lookup. So if I think about my warranty, it needs to link back or look up to a specific account in my database. So what I'm going to do here is add a new column, which is called account. So I'm going to find which account, and I use the option here to look up to point back to that related table. So we go in here and find the account and save that. Now, if I navigate back a level here into my warranty table and have a look at the relationships now, we'll see that that's in there. So if I have a look here, account, related to account, and there's that many to one relationship. So that's how it can be done. Just to show you the other way around, I also want to create a relationship here between the warranty and a particular product. Product is an out-of-the-box table that we've got in the sales application, so I'm not going to create a new one. So I could do it this way. I could say I want to create a many-to-one relationship here. So we're going to go in and say that the warranty is linked back to the product table, and it will now create the lookup for me. So whichever way you do it, it doesn't matter. Whatever makes more sense in your brain, it's achieving the same thing. And you can do that the other way around as well. If I'd started at account, I could have done a relationship back the other way. But my brain works in a way that I find it easier to create the lookups. So that's all good. Let's go back. Now we need to create the pieces for that table, the form so that you can enter the data, and the view so that you can see what's going on. And then we're going to start to bring all these pieces together. I'm going to create a form, and this has just got some templates to start with. The main form here, we're going to go in and choose that. And I need to bring those pieces across that I've just created in here. Each row in the warranty table will have a unique name. This could be the warranty ID, something like that. But we want to bring across here we'll just keep this fairly basic, the start date, the end date, the account, and the product. Missed the account there. Let's just grab that in there. You'll notice the end date has got the lock icon on it because it's actually calculating that value. It's not going to allow me to enter it. Now I could do something fancier here with different columns on the screens and so on, but that will actually do the job for now. Let's save that one and navigate back. The last thing we need to do here is to create a view so we can look at the columns. So we're going to go back into the warranty table here, select views, and I'm going to work with this active warranties view and again bring those pieces in. So this gives me name and created on. Not interested at all in created on, but I do want my start date, and again I can just click these quite easily, end date, account, product. That will do, and let's save that one. Now one last thing, when I'm looking at my account, I would like to see the related warranties related to that customer account. So we're going to put this view inside the account form in what's called a subgrid. So I'm going to go back to my account table now. There it is. I'm going to open that form that we were working on earlier where I made my other modifications, adding in all of those extra pieces. Click through to there. And what I'm going to do here is add another tab. So taking me back to my account form here, I've got my summary tab, my details tab. I'm actually going to add another tab in there to see the warranties all in a nice row. So the way I do that with my whole form highlighted here is that I can go into components. We will click on a one column tab, and that will just create something called new tab. Let's click on that, change this to say warranties, and drag that across to a spot where I want that to be, and click on that. And now I've got a section here that I can bring in what's called a subgrid, so a list of all of the related warranties. So I've got my subgrid on the side here. I only want to look at related records. So if I click on that, that will now give me a list of everything that's related. Now, because we're working with dynamic sales and there's a heap going on, there's a heap of things that are related. We'll scroll right down to the bottom and find warranties for that account. I'm just going to use that active warranties view. You could create a special view just to have on the screen here if you prefer to do that. And now there it is. Now I've got a couple of useless headings here. Let's change this label here to warranties. And in the section, so you can have sort of two layers of headings, I'm just going to hide that label. Now this just says name and created on because I haven't actually published the changes from when I updated that view a moment ago because I'm going to publish everything. The save and publish option, by the way, is really good as you're changing things as you go along, because you can just make one small change and save and publish. I've just been saving all along here because I'm just going to do one publish at the end, which is the thing that we're about to do right now. Drum roll, please. Actually, there is one last thing we're going to do, which is to add the warranties to the navigation of my app. So I'm going to come in here, I'm going to add an existing app, and it's a model-driven app. Dynamics 365 is a model-driven app. And I'm going to bring the Sales Hub in, which is the main sales application, because you can actually change the navigation down the side there. If I go into that from here, this will take me to the navigation menu where I can do all of my editing here. And I'm going to go across here to this little piece, which is navigation. And I'm going to add it in just under the customer section here. I've got accounts and contacts. You might add it somewhere else in the menu, but this will do. So what I want to do here is to say I'm going to add a page. I'm going to add a Dataverse table and click next. I'm going to find my warranties table and select show in navigation and add that in there. And that's going to bring that in that spot, just above where I was actually. So you can see it there. We've got activities, dashboards, warranties. If I want to move it down into that customer section, I can just click that a couple of times and move it down to wherever I want it to be. And I will save that. All right, now we're going to do our final publish of everything and see how all of this works. So again, once I've saved that, I'm going to go back into my main navigation here. Once I've saved that, I'm going to click back to go into my main navigation, and here's my magic button to publish all customizations. This will take 30 seconds or so. I'm just going to do a bit of video editing so we don't watch the spinning wheel on the screen. And once that's done, you will get this lovely green confirmation success. Let's go ahead and have a look at what that's done to our newly customized sales application. You will need to give the screen a refresh to take in all the changes, and here we have it. So now I have got my account. I've got my category up in the top here. These data fields have been added without any selection. So let's go ahead and make ADATM a preferred customer there. We have got the business type, which is a cafe, and the purchase cycle weekly. So those are the options that we've selected earlier in there. Here is my brand new warranties tab. So I've got my subgrid in there. I can go in and add a new warranty related to ADATM Corporation here. And there's the form that I created for that. Let's say this has just got a reference number there from the actual warranty. I'm going to put my start date in, and the end date I'm not going to be able to put in because it's locked, but we should see that calculated. It's brought the account lookup back to that account, and I'm going to go in here and find a product. Let's say it's this one here. Watch what happens to the end date when I save this. There we go. It's going to add 3 years to that. Save and close, and that will go back, and now I've got that in that list in there. I've also got my warranties on the menu on the side here so that I can see those throughout my application. Let's take a look at our new lead to opportunity process flow. So if I come in here, start with a new lead that's come in, there you'll see we've now, instead of got qualify, develop, propose, close, we've also got this stage in here which has that trial start and trial end. And there's our newly customized sales application. There's plenty more that you can do. This is fully extensible. Make sure you check out all my tutorials here on model-driven Power Apps, because as you now know, exactly the same thing under the hood, just a much richer starting point, but all the skills of configuration are exactly the same. Thanks for watching.